This is the 5 Nights at Freddy's timeline. We will be taking this timeline game by game. We will ignore every game that comes after the game that we are focusing on. However, we will allow any game that came previously to the game that we are looking at, as well as any important game-related plot points from the books. Now on to the timeline of 5 Nights at Freddy's Security Breach. The Pizzaplex opens its doors to the public. Month unknown, day unknown, year unknown. Vanessa is hired as the nighttime security guard. She was a recommendation from the heads of the company, even though she has no experience. Month unknown, day unknown, year unknown. An angry mother complains about the pizza that was served to her. She claims that the pizza has different toppings and been cut unevenly, possibly been recycled pizza. Month unknown, day unknown, year unknown. A customer complains about an employee named Dave, says that he should be fired. I do not believe that this Dave is the same Dave that we know as William Afton. I know that William used the name Dave within the books, but William has been a zombie for over 30 years or more. This Dave employee simply has a similar name. It is a coincidence. Month unknown, day unknown, year unknown. Vanessa starts to see a therapist. Either these therapists are company mandated by Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, or mandated by a third-party company. These sessions are recorded on CDs. Since we have came to the CDs, let's talk about Vanny versus Vanessa, and whether or not they are the same person. We will be addressing both sides of the argument. First off, some say that Vanny is a separate person because of the fire ending. The fire ending reveals the face of Vanny being a blonde-headed woman. However, the post-credit scene shows Vanessa looking down at Vanny's dead body from the burning rooftop. People point to this as proof that they are separate people. Here's the counter-argument: if Vanessa did come to the rooftop to see Vanny's death, then how did she get through the fire that blocked the door to the rooftop? If Vanessa could not get to the rooftop because of the fire, then this is not Vanessa but rather her ghost looking down at her body. Another argument for them being separate is the recurring concept of the women sitting differently within the chairs at the therapist office. The working theory is that Vanny sits uncomfortably because she is smaller than Vanessa, while Vanessa on the other hand sits comfortably within the chair. Here is the counter-argument. If you compare the models of both Vanny and Vanessa, they are similar in size, so that would disprove the idea that they are different purely because of their height. However, that does leave an open question. Why point out the difference in their sitting behavior? That is to discern the difference in personality between Vanessa and her alter ego. There is one red flag that we cannot overlook, however, and that is the emails within the augmented reality game. When we read the emails, it becomes clear that an employee named Lewis writes to a girl called Ness.
Ness as in Vanessa.
However, it's what's within those emails to Vanessa that exposes her disturbing behavior. This internet search alone is enough to point out that Vanny and Vanessa are one and the same. Now that we have an understanding of this, the CDs will make more sense as we go over them, keeping in mind that Vanessa has a deranged dark side to her, possibly only there because of Afton's influence. The first CD states that Vanessa has been dealing with anxiety issues, but more importantly it has been discovered that she has encrypted conversations with an unknown person.
Hello, Vanessa. How are you feeling today? Your performance reviews are good, but a routine check of your online history has revealed that you've spent quite a bit of time with someone in an encrypted conversation.
The therapist asks who it is, to which Vanessa becomes defensive regarding question and then states that it is Lewis. However, the therapist points out the difference between the emails between Vanessa and Lewis compared to the emails between Vanessa and this unknown person.
Who are you talking to in these?
No one. Sometimes I talk with Lewis. He's in the marketing department. He's nice, I guess.
Yes, I see Lewis here. But there's someone else.
The Pizzaplex starts to sell fast cameras in Monte Golf, with a rule which states that flash photography items will be confiscated if they are used within Monte Golf, to which they resell the confiscated cameras back to the general public. Quite the clever marketing strategy. In the second CD we start to see Vanessa's alter ego take over. The same therapist as before notes that Vanny does not like the sunshine, and stays silent throughout the session, even laughing at the idea that the therapist could get in trouble by Vanny remaining silent.
Good morning. Isn't it a pretty day? So you're not talking to me again today. This isn't all that productive, you know. When my sessions don't get results, my reviews aren't very good. You don't want me to get in trouble, do you? I could be put in the corner for a timeout. Yeah, you think that's funny, huh?
The Pizzaplex orders a DJ Music Man for the dance floor. He is designed to keep people entertained. The third CD reveals that Vanessa has gained a new therapist who she does not know, and it is implied that something might have happened to her first one. The therapist goes on to talk about Vanessa's supposed backstory, about her father named Bill and the custody battle between her mom and her dad. The therapist states that Bill used Vanessa to say horrible things about her mom, in order for Bill to win the custody battle. Some believe that William Afton could be Vanessa's father since Bill is a nickname for William. However, this does not hold according to the timeline. William had kids back in 1983, and then died around 1993 or 1994. He then laid still for about 30 years until he returned as a zombie in Fazbear's Fright in 2023. He then reappeared in the Pizzaplex at least years after the burning of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place. So Vanessa could not possibly be the daughter of William Afton, otherwise she would be at least in her 40s or 50s by now, which is not the case given how young she looks within the game. So therefore this custody battle is a lie told by Vanessa to cover up what is actually going on. However, there is one way that Vanessa could be the daughter of William. Vanessa could be a life-like robot of William's daughter Elizabeth, which could explain the similar appearance between Vanessa and Elizabeth. However, there are some problems with this theory. First, we have no clear examples of robotic humanoids within the games. By that I mean robots that look exactly like a human, and simulate their life, but they are still purely robots. We do have Michael Afton, however he is not a person who died, and then was rebuilt as a robot to simulate a dead Michael. Instead he is a person who had a robot injected into him, only for it to be spat out, and Mike just carries on with his life. No, instead we have no person who clearly died, and clearly had a separate robot built to simulate that person while they are still dead. Some might point to Evan the Bite victim, however it is not clear enough to definitively say that he has a robot simulating his life. And the second reason as to why Vanessa could not be a robot, is the fact that she was a victim of random chance. By that I mean, Vanessa was not chosen by Afton for any special reason. She was the third person he tried to manipulate in order to escape the digital world. Afton first tried to manipulate Jeremy, but failed. Then Afton tried Tape Girl, but failed. Until finally Afton was lucky enough to have a person who was easy to manipulate. A person who was just doing their job as a beta tester for the VR game. The next event in the timeline regards the disappearance of Glamrock Bonnie. According to this email, Bonnie was seen leaving his green room heading east towards the atrium at 12:24 a.m. Bonnie is then seen entering the East Arcade at 2:40 a.m. The last reported sighting of Bonnie was him entering Monty Golf at 4:12 a.m. CD number 4 states that Vanny has particular skills as a hacker. It also states that Vanny is not surprised that her last therapist is no longer available. The email titled Understudy says that Monty will go on to replace Bonnie, implying that something had happened to Bonnie. Some might ask where Bonnie went. I think he has the endoskeleton down in parts and service. That endoskeleton twitches but does not behave like the others in the building. It might be Bonnie. The fifth CD goes on to say that William has hacked into Vanessa's personal files in order to learn more about her life. The therapist tries to warn Vanessa, but Vanessa dismisses her warning. At some point the golf arcade was moved to Monty Golf. In CD number 6, Vanny received another therapist. This new therapist looked over Vanny's files, only to come to the conclusion that Vanny had explained her past in a manner that came off as if she was reading it from a book. Like Vanny is disconnected from her past. The therapist says that Vanny likes to talk to herself, and the therapist then states to use her self-dialogue as a means to cope with her past. The next event in the timeline regards a man who finds out about an arcade somewhere in the building, based on the old Princess Quest mobile game. This man begins to go on a quest of his own, to find the arcade game in the building. The next CD states that Vanessa has not taken an ink blot test, so the therapist shows her some ink blot images. One ink blot image looks like a beetle to Vanessa, but the therapist thinks it is a face. The CD also reveals that Vanessa likes to sit outside to read. According to an employee, the Chica Feeding Frenzy arcade game has glitched out and now won't turn off. CD number 8 reveals that Vanny apparently was sad and scared about some event that happened. The therapist asks if she processed those feelings, how would they affect her fantasies? The employee dedicated to finding the Princess Quest game has discovered Princess Quest 3. Possibly in the same security office that Vanny lives in later on. However, the third game is unplayable until he beats Princess Quest 1 and 2. The ninth CD states that Vanessa does not have a hobby. The therapist asks if Vanessa likes sports, but she doesn't. So the therapist says that she has a craft space in her basement, and suggests that Vanessa could use her craft space as her hobby. That is, until Vanessa reveals that she doesn't like dark basements. The man from earlier had found Princess Quest 2, but it shut down on him. He still has not found Princess Quest 1. In CD number 10, the therapist states that Vanessa has been spending a lot more time emailing this mysterious person, and asks if Vanessa is ready to reveal who it is, but Vanessa brushes it off, and says that there is a non-disclosure agreement. This torn paper email was hard to decipher, but I think I have an understanding of what it's referring to. The email states it's there but you can't see. Alone in the dark. I found the key. I believe this is a quote from the employee playing the first Princess Quest game. Within the game you have to find a key to unlock the door, and I believe this is the key that is referred to within this email. This implies that the man has successfully found Princess Quest 1. The 11th CD reveals that Vanessa has been shopping online for material during her breaks. When the therapist confronts Vanessa about this, Vanessa says that he might be watching, that he could be anywhere at any time, so because of that, Vanessa can't talk about what she is making out of this fake, for the therapist thinks that this man who's always watching is Vanessa imagining her dad. She then says to Vanessa to use her self-dialogue to confront her past, but Vanessa doesn't like to talk to herself. According to the red flag email, the man from before has beaten both Princess Quest 1 and 2, however the third game will not turn on. CD number 12 reveals that Vanessa has switched to another therapist. According to the job security email, an employee named Leo had a maze control key, but Leo has not been seen for months. In CD number 13, the new therapist states that Vanny does not have a hobby and does not like sports. She then goes on to state that this is Vanny's fourth therapist and the other two therapists have gone missing, while one of them was found dead. Vanny seems to take some enjoyment out of the situation. The Fazbear company reaches out to all staff and reveals a meeting that takes place on a Thursday at 11:30 p.m. The 14th CD reveals that the technicians at the Pizzaplex think that Vanny is hacking their system. However, there is no hard evidence to confirm if it is indeed her. The therapist also confronts Vanny about the encrypted conversations between her and William Afton. The therapist first thought it was more evidence of her self-dialogue until she looked closer. The next email is from an employee who asks another employee if they are going to the all-staff meeting. Says that she doesn't want to get laid off for not attending. In CD number 15, a new therapist shows Vanny an old ink blot image. Vanny holds it in her hand and says that it looks like a mask. In CD number 7, Vanessa was given the same image by her old therapist. However, Vanessa said that it was a beetle while her old therapist said it was a face. But now Vanessa's alter ego Vanny says that it is a mask, which is like a face. The CD reveals that the text discovered that Afton attempted to manipulate Vanny. However, the new therapist says that Vanny is the manipulator. According to this email, an employee states that the Balloon Boy World arcade game was glitching, and it was secretly moved somewhere in the building. He states that he would go look for the game after the company meeting. The final CD, CD number 16, reveals that the aforementioned arcade glitch, as well as all the machines and robot glitches, have been traced back to Vanny. That is, according to the techs. While the techs were dealing with this system-wide glitch, the source of the glitch shifted. The glitch turned into intentional subroutines that came from Vanny. The therapist asks Vanny to open up about why she is causing all of this, but Vanny stays quiet about it. So the therapist moves on to talk about Vanny's childhood, about information she acquired from other people. Her sources say that Vanny actually had a great childhood, but Vanny had lied about her past being tragic. When Vanny gets confronted with the truth, she insinuates that she will not be seeing that therapist again, possibly killing her like she did the others. Before we move on, I would like to talk about the made-up story about Vanessa's past. The made-up story might not be Vanessa's past, but rather I think that it is William's. Since the sister location game, we have been receiving evidence that William and his wife, Mrs. Afton, had a falling out, possibly even a divorce. But something did indeed happen to the wife, and I believe this story about a custody battle had happened between William and his wife. As for who Mrs. Afton might have ended up with in the end, well, that's a story for another day. The next event in the timeline is the big meeting that we have been building up towards, and at the end of it, all the nighttime employees get fired and are replaced with new staff bots. However, Vanessa is still working as the night guard. The man who has been playing the Princess Quest games had begged his boss to keep him one more night to try and save the princess. However, he gets fired in the end. This better employee email goes over about the new staff bots. According to this email, a security guard, most likely Vanessa, gets locked out, possibly by the staff bots. The next email states that Monty was damaged in Monty Golf and needed maintenance. This was a month before Gregory came to the Pizzaplex. The next email says that Vanessa discovered a display broken, possibly a theft, but there was no sign of a break-in. This might be where Music Man came from. Vanessa considers calling the police. The next email states that Vanessa sent away a cop that was responding to a call from inside the Pizzaplex. However, Vanessa does not remember making a call to the police, and there was no one else inside the Pizzaplex. We can infer that Vanessa might have memory problems, possibly due to the effects of her alter ego. An AC inspector, named Keith, could not find the source of the banging within the vents. The next email states that Chica's personality chip went on the fritz, and Chica cannot control herself around Monty Mix. This personality chip convinces me that the glam rock robots are not possessed, but rather have simulated personalities and even simulated senses, such as taste. Further evidence also indicates that Chica, Bonnie, but especially Freddy have simulated memories of their past versions of themselves. The next email reveals that kids started to go missing at the new Pizzaplex. It is happening again at Freddy Fazbear's. The next email says to hide the Monty Mix from Chica. He next email reveals that Chica started to eat garbage after hours. The company decided to lock up food materials after hours. The next email states that Keith still cannot find the noise in the AC, even though this is his 5th visit that week. The next email goes over May's instructions. The very next email says that the company started to build Roxy Raceway, however the workers started to find cracks in the raceway. They are concerned that they are building over a sinkhole. While the raceway was being built, Roxy was given upgraded eyes to help her win races. The next email states that Roxy interrupts test runs on the track. The next email says that the company is running out of test bots for the track. In another email we read that Roxy decapitated a staff bot. In one email we read that a child was traumatized by Moondrop. The next email states that Monty was given claw upgrades. The next email says that Chica was given a voice box upgrade. The next email states that a person's cousin worked at the Pizzaplex, and tells his friend who is sneaking around to watch out for the robots. The next email reads that the company is considering to make a re-theme of Bonnie Bowl since Bonnie is gone. The next email says that Freddy was used for a birthday party, however he broke down on stage. This foreshadows the opening event of the game. I also believe that this was Vanny's first attempt at hacking Freddy, but she failed, which is why Vanny tries again while Freddy is performing during the opening of the game. The next email states that the Roxy Raceway works have discovered that something below the surface is draining power. They have decided to drill into the floor to find what is draining the power. When the team drilled into the foundation, they discovered an old elevator, but the team decided to investigate it in the morning, leaving for the night. Around the same time that day, the robots go on stage to perform for the kids, and this is when Freddy glitches for a second time. After this failed attempted by Vanny to hack into Freddy, our main character Gregory hops into the chest cavity of Freddy while he was out cold. Freddy discovers Gregory and agrees to help Gregory escape the Pizzaplex. While Freddy is helping Gregory, Vanessa calls the other robots to help search for Gregory before he escapes the building. Gregory attempts to get out before 12 a.m. but he gets locked in, and now has to survive until 6 a.m. when the doors open back up. During the night, Vanny hunts down Gregory alongside the other robots. Throughout the night, Gregory rips apart the other robots and uses their parts to upgrade Freddy. Gregory survives the night, but he decides not to leave the Pizzaplex. He stays to discover the secrets of the restaurant. Eventually Freddy and Gregory discovers the old elevator mentioned before, and the elevator takes them down to an old Freddy Fazbear's pizzeria, called Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place. This old restaurant is the same restaurant from the 6th game. The same restaurant where William and the other old robots were burned at the hands of Henry. However, William has returned, and now William tries to possess Freddy to kill Gregory. But William is stoked by his old victims, and presumably left for dead, while Freddy and Gregory make it out alive. But as we all know, Afton always comes back, and maybe we will see him and Vanny in another game.